G'day legends, in this video we're talking about stalling up against the cage. It's boring, you should be punished for it, alright? This week there's been a lot of good stuff dropping. There is the idea of a BMF tournament. There is about as much, let's not hype, but let's say interesting discussion around women's MMA as there has been in like the last 5 years. So we didn't get to something that I really wanted to talk about ever since UFC 307. We saw a little bit of it in UFC 306. And it's stalling against the cage, right? Like this topic is still out there in the MMA zeitgeist right now, really because of what happened to Jose Aldo's legacy and how Merab Dvalishvili stole the title bout of Sean O'Malley. Well, not stole, but you know what I mean. Won it in a very uninteresting way. Look, Dana White was asked about stalling against the cage very recently in his post-fight press conference of the Contender Series. Conor McGregor decided to bring up his own rules about it. Michael Bisping has spent all week talking about it as well, and also the MMA guru has gone and put a bloody hit out, mate, on Mario Batista. 10 grand to the first fighter to drop him in the cage.
10K for the first UFC bantamweight to leave Mario Batista unconscious on the floor in the canvas.
So, with all these rules and discussions and controversy going on about stalling up against the cage, here's what I think should be done about it. Look, we already have a solution to this. It exists already in the world of MMA. I really do not understand why we need to have this discussion. I don't even understand why I need to make this video. It's kind of insane considering that the global rule set of MMA already has it. There are already MMA organizations all over the world that are implementing it. The UFC simply just does not choose to enforce it, even though it itself is a global event. So, in this video, I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to explain it to you, and it could be implemented into the UFC like by this weekend's Fight Night card. You know, but obviously you would have to do a little bit more to notify the fighters and notify the camps about the changing of the rules or the implementation of the rules. There is no reason that we couldn't start off 2025 with this implemented rule set, or even as soon as UFC, say UFC 209. I would suggest that if I was in charge of the company, I would go ahead and tell all the camps, and I would put a notice out to all MMA fighters that as of UFC 209, this is what is going to be happening. And that way it gives these fighters plenty of time to adjust their camps if stalling against the cage is something that they're planning on doing. Because make no mistake about it, fighters are doing this on purpose. Mario Batista talked about it. Talked about how Jose Aldo can't get himself off the back of the cage, and he implemented that tactic on purpose. It is
performance it is what it is, you know. How to do what I had to do. I got, you know, he has good takedown defense, but he cannot get off the cage, and like that's not my fault, you know.
It's not his fault that Jose Aldo doesn't know how to spin off the cage. However, Michael Bisping's sort of idea to it is, you are trying to take me down, or you should be trying to take me down. The way that it's written in the rule set is that taking someone down is just a changing of position. So you should be trying to take me down. And if you can't take me down, if I'm stopping you from doing that, I am actually implementing my tactic. I am winning that little fighting sequence against the cage. But if what you're going to do is, say, a Merab Dvalishvili tactic, which is just push someone up the cage and give them pitter-patter shots, say, to the top of the thigh, then these situations, you know, or the ones where someone is being held down, you're on top of them, you're just giving them light little hammer fist shots to the side of the head, right? Those little pitter-patter shots, or like, you know, Kamaru Usman, right? He pushed up Jorge Masvidal up against the cage and just sort of stepped on his foot for 25 minutes. This all should be considered inactive fighting, where you're not actually pushing for a finish. You're not pushing for a submission. You're not really trying to do much. This is stalling. This could be considered as just pumping out the jab or holding out the fingers and running around the outside of the cage. Well, if the other fighter can't catch me, that's not my fault. Well, you're not really engaging in a fight, which is sort of what we are trying to do here. So, what can we do? What is the rule set that already exists? It's very simple. It's the One Championship global rule set. That's right. The second best organization in MMA has once again solved the UFC's problem. They did it for hydration. Now they're doing it for boring fights. They implement it all the time. Let me read the rules to you thusly. The rule is stalling. When the action slows in the standing position, the referee will give the command, action. When the action slows on the ground, the referee will give the command, improve your position or work to finish. If the action has not increased, the referee may stand the athletes up or penalize them with a yellow card. If a yellow card is displayed, the bout will resume from the standing position. Cage-side judges may display a red or blue marker as a signal to the referee and cornerman that the athlete from the corner displayed is stalling. Cornermen should take this display into account and encourage their athlete to compete. That was a globber. And encourage their athlete to compete more actively and aggressively. God, what a word salad, but don't worry, I will actually show you this being implemented. Let's press on to what is actually a yellow card in MMA. If you do not watch one, you might not know what that is. A yellow card will result in a 10% deduction in the athlete's prize money or purse and may factor in the judge's decision. Each yellow card is a successive 10% deduction from the athlete's earnings. Can you imagine how Merab Dvalishvili or Mario Batista or say Kamaru Usman, can you imagine how these fighters would react if Herb Dean or Mark Goddard actually started taking money out of their pocket with a yellow card? And by the way, One Championship do this all of the time. It is way more exciting. I'm going to show you some clips of this in action. I'm even going to show you some clips, believe it or not, of women's MMA, because women's MMA in One Championship is even more fun because the women in One actually have to engage with each other and fight. Whereas in the UFC, women's MMA is mostly stalling. It is mostly grappling against the cage while they swing big old meaty hooks from well outside of range. So let's have a look at the yellow card system for stalling actually being implemented in an MMA fight.
Stop! Anthony, stop!
And Muhammad Sulaiman wants more action.
More action. Ready to go. Stop! Listen,
And
this
another
is my
caution
last
here.
One more time, yellow card.
Last warning, or he's going to tip into the pocket and go yellow cards, and that will mean nice check there from Yuya.
Stop!
Adriano, lots of movement, and the referee
Back
doesn't
there.
like it. I think he's going to go in
Back
his pocket now.
Hey, back there.
Okay, double yellow cards. Rich Franklin, your thoughts on this?
Bonga likes to throw that right hand going first.
Yeah.
He's reaching into his pocket.
More action.
Gives him
More action.
both a yellow card. Now a yellow card, ladies and gentlemen, means a 10% purse deduction for both these ladies. It can come into scoring.
There you have it, right? All of this talk about, like, from Conor McGregor, we need a 30-second clock. We need a 30-second clock every time they start to engage in stalling and bring that clock timer down, bring it up on the screen. No need for it, right? The MMA guru trying to turn into a Don, right? Trying to LARP as a mafia boss, a Don guru putting a hit on the UFC fighters for ruining legacies. We don't need to do that. Merab Dvalishvili's entire career, none of that needs to exist, right? And this whole big debate about whether or not it is stalling or isn't, it's already done. It's already written in clear English. Not only is it already done and implemented, but you could already go watch tape on how it's implemented in live action MMA fights. This isn't some sort of ethereal thing that we have to think about. Oh, what would it be like if we implemented this rule? Oh, what would it be like if it affects the fights in this way? It's already happened. It's already out there. There's already a global company that is actually testing out the theory and implementing it every single weekend to great success. The only reason the UFC will not implement it is the same reason the UFC will not implement like a smart cage where you can live action count the kicks and strikes on the screen. Whereas what we have right now with these clearly lying graphics that pop up at the bottom of the screen with the strike count, and you could just tell that they're not right. The reason that we don't have a smart cage that can count things as they're happening is because the PFL did it first. And the UFC will never copy another organization's ideas, even if it's a good one. I'm a business owner, right? And when I see my competitors in the real life field implementing something that is good on building sites, like I have not done an apprenticeship in years, mate. Years. But when I want to upskill myself, all I do is just go onto the building sites, or like if I'm ever helping out another crew, and look at what they're doing. And if I see them implementing a good idea that makes my product faster, more efficient, easier to do you know what I do? I copy it. I copy it instantly because it's better for me as a business owner. Dana White, UFC, MMA fans, there is a solution already to stalling. It has been implemented in world title fights. I believe that is how the one heavyweight champion won his heavyweight title, because the other bloke was stalling out and disengaging. Now that's just going off my memory. I can't be bothered to look it up, so it could be like the last heavyweight champion or the last light heavyweight champion. Details, mate. But I'm pretty sure I've seen it in an actual championship fight. It's gone down before. So there you go. The argument about stalling, what should be done? Once again, one championship has the solution to the problem. The UFC need to implement it. Let me know what you think about it down there in the comments. How do you think that fight against Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili would have gone if we had implemented this one championship rule set? Put it down there in the comments. How do you think that fight would have turned out? If this is your first time joining me, well, welcome. I try and make an MMA video every single day of the working week, but today is Friday, so that's the last one for this week. Hit that subscribe button. You can always unsubscribe later if you don't enjoy the content. If you're already on board with the channel and you want to see more content from me, then I need to be able to dedicate more time to this channel so you can help this channel grow by hitting that like button. Until then, you boys have yourselves a bloody good weekend. I will see you all on the live stream during the Fight Night card or on Monday when we're back at it again for another week of content. I'll see you all then.